Call City Council meeting to order, August 1st, 2023 at 6:32 p.m. Next one up is Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Okay, item number 3, we have a proclamation for Assistant Chief Phil Gist. Whereas the Clear Lake Shores Police Department and the City of Clear Lake Shores would like to express their utmost admiration and appreciation for your exceptional service as the Assistant Chief of Police of the City of Clear Lake Shores Police Department. And whereas on November of 2012, you joined the Clear Lake Shores Police Department, and your dedication, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to keeping our community safe has not gone unnoticed. And whereas your tireless efforts in maintaining law and order have been instrumental in fostering a sense of security amongst the residents, your leadership has played a crucial role in ensuring our town remains a safe and peaceful place to live, work, and raise families. And whereas your chosen profession in law enforcement expands 35 years, it is a great honor that you have chosen the Clear Lake Shores Police Department to finish out your career. The officers that have served alongside you throughout these past 13 years are filled with gratitude and have such a role model to help pave their way in the same profession. And whereas in the light of your outstanding contributions and in honor of your commendable achievements, we dedicate a specific day to celebrate your accomplishments and express our gratitude and recognize your leadership qualities and dedication for your exemplary service to the City of Clear Lake Shores community. And now, therefore, I, Randy Chronister, Mayor of Clear Lake Shores City Council, Clear Lake Shores Police Department, and all of the Clear Lake Shores residents do hereby proclaim August 1st, 2023, Assistant Chief Phil Gist Day. In your honor, it will not only serve as a token of appreciation, but also as a reminder to future generations of the exceptional leadership that you have exemplified throughout your tenure. It is important to recognize and celebrate those who have gone above and beyond their call of duty, as it sets a standard of excellence and inspires others to follow in your footsteps. In the witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Clear Lake Shores, Texas, to be affixed with heartfelt gratitude, and offer our sincerest appreciation of your exemplary service, sir. All you officers come up, all of council, let's all take a picture with him. You too. Okay. Moving on to item number 4, reports from council. Ed Waters.
Yes, one thing I've learned about being on city council, everybody has questions. So Saturday morning, we have coffee with the mayor and city council. It's a perfect time for you to come out and ask all your questions. Hopefully we'll have answers for you. Our gentleman here, Brad, he'll be here. He has all the answers, so we'd appreciate y'all coming out. It's a perfect time and to meet everybody that, people who haven't had a chance to meet some of us. And also, we know, everybody knows how hot it is, but keep out an eye for your neighbor, because some people you might not see on a regular basis. If you hadn't, go knock on the door and check on them.
All right, thank you, Ed. Rick Fisher.
Just want to extend my gratitude to Phil for the service that you've given us since 2012. Thank you very much. I think you're well deserving of this. I also want to officially welcome Dick Gregg here. I know we voted even last time, but it's the first council meeting you've been to, so we're happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, Rick. Jeff Terrell.
Yeah, just wanted to reiterate kind of what Ed said about Saturday. I know a lot of people aren't on social media or don't, but spread the word. You know, tell your neighbors, tell everybody to come out and talk to everybody here at council. Talk to Brad, Randy, any of us. Ask questions. Just trying to get the word out and get what people's feelings are, especially since a lot of us are new here. We're trying to figure everything out. So if you have any questions, please come out and talk to us.
8:30.
8:30, yeah. And again, I want to thank Phil. I've known Phil pretty much the whole time he's been here, and he's always been an inspiration and always there to talk, and we really appreciate your service. And welcome, Dig, as well.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Amanda Fenwick. Y'all got to switch seats in.
Just switched.
All right, Alex.
All right. Well, I'll ditto everything that Jeff and Rick said, so I don't have to hash it out again. Clean out your drains. It hasn't rained in a long time, but rain's coming. Probably a big spinny version of it, unfortunately. Yeah. You know, make sure you don't have any tombstones from last Halloween stuck over your drain pipes or something. I pulled a few of those out. I know during this heavy dry weather, a lot of buildup ends up in your pipes and your drainage system. So check that out before it starts raining, and that's all I've got.
Amanda?
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Well, I just want to welcome Dick Gregg. You know, as you know, our last meeting we made a change to hire a new attorney, and I think we got a really good guy here, honest person. He brings a lot to the city. They've been doing this for a long, long time. And once again, congratulations to Phil. All right, staff reports. David Donaldson.
Mayor, Council, appreciate you doing that, Randy. Thank you. Houston has Hundreds Club, as many of you probably heard of it. Galveston County has the 50s Club, and it's an award banquet for the police officers that have served. Last year they had it in November. We were unable to attend. We had prior engagements, but I'd like Phil, will you stand up front, please? Face that way. Face that way. So, Phil's daughter, Elaine, is going to be presenting him his 50 Awards Banquet Officer of the Year, Assistant Police Chief of the Year. His son couldn't make it. Thank you.
All right, City Administrator Brad Gowdy.
Mayor, council, citizens, good evening. Thank you, Valerie, for the August newsletters. Now come out, hopefully everybody's got a copy of it. So we've got some amazing staff here doing some great things in Clear Lake Shores, and probably two of the hardest working individuals I know are Jorge and Odie. If you haven't, absolutely. Very well deserved. They are out there on a daily basis making sure that this city is something we can all be proud of and everybody is kept safe. If you haven't been around Deep Hole, please take a look at the hard work. You can see there in the picture on the left, there was some bamboo that had grown up and died, and it created a wall, and unfortunately it encouraged some inappropriate behaviors out there. They've spent some time and put a lot of sweat and tears into getting that cleaned out, and it looks a lot better, and they're just getting started. There's a lot of great things they do, and we're really proud of what they do. Shifting gears now down to Jarboe Park. I mentioned the last meeting that we took one of the piers out of service. You can kind of see a picture there of how some of that's failing, and we don't want anybody to get hurt. I have met with a contractor, and we're waiting on some bids to come back so we can get that repaired and get that back in service. So we just ask everybody kind of avoid that till we can make it safe. Thank you, Councilman. Kind of next page has got kind of some reminders about heat emergencies. We've all kind of tolerated it and settled into it, but this is something that's very serious that we need to stay on top of. Think about the neighbors, the elderly, check in on them, make sure you're staying hydrated. It gives you some indications of different heat emergencies. This is, trust me, as a paramedic of 30 years, this is not something you want to take lightly, because when it's setting in, you can cause permanent damage very quickly, so we encourage you staying on top of that. Some of the projects that are currently going on, I mentioned that we were working on bids for the playground. We did come in a bit over budget, so I'm working with the contractor right now of tightening that back down, so we're a little bit under budget. We had some concerns that these funds are coming out of the Safe Child Fund, which was approximately $80,000. I share some concerns with council that do we really want to expend all of that up front? So I'm trimming that back to approximately 60. Will leave us a little bit of fund balance so we can use later date, plus if something should come up that we have a need. So I'm trimming that back down to bring that forward. Contract was awarded after approval by council at the last for Okies parking lot. That is having contracts drawn up right now, so we should be seeing some work beginning there before long. Also in the process of working to publish RFQ for a city engineer. This will be an engineer of record for just general engineering services. Worked with roads and drainage on and identified some priorities of projects to get working on. We're going to take the first one, assess what the deliverable is that the engineer brings to us, to decide if that's a long-term relationship to pursue or we look at somebody else. One of the things that this combination of heat and age, that we're getting some wear and tear on our swimming pool. We've got some tiles that are popping off. We've got some mastic that's coming up. Unfortunately, when the pool was redone, the tiles were cut too short, and it should have only been nothing more than ½ an inch. I will advise everybody right now, this is going to be a temporary fix. We do not want to right now get water in there and have another freeze come, because it will pop and cause some major damage. So we're going to get that sealed until we can determine the method and process and funding to get a permanent fix. So a year from now, I don't want you to come back hanging me up just because we just got it done, but we're working on it. Also, part of that tiles are popping off, and it's going to require the pool to be drained so we can get access to it. So we're trying to find a good day or a good week to drain that down and close the pools with the least amount of impact on our citizens and our members. Finally, just to kind of reinforce the Coffee with City Leaders coming this Saturday, what our focus that we want to do, working with the mayor on this, is make this an opportunity to educate the community. Our first meeting, we're going to look at some of our city ordinances, the permitting process. One of the things, I know there's a lot of different opinions out there, and what I would prefer and what I would like to ask is, let's make this a time to educate each other. Let's not turn out with the pitchforks and lynch mobs, because I don't work well with that. But we want to find a way, how can we educate people on the government process? We want to be there, be available for you, and just kind of have it a nice, pleasant morning on Saturday morning. Again, it's going to be 8:30 to 9 will be our social half hour, and then 9 to 10 will be kind of an educational, so we're not tying everybody up and just giving you some information. But to also know that when we walk away from that, we're there for you, there to answer your questions, and that's not the end of our contact for you. Mayor, I think that's all I've got at this time.
All right, thank you, Brad. We're gonna move into, committee reports, Parks and Pool.
Okay, hear me better? Okay. We did submit our budget with what we'd like done soon, what we have in Phase 2 and in Phase 3, and it did go to Brad. He made some changes. We will meet August 14th, and we will go over those changes and additions that Brad made to the budget, but he was so helpful with us, and we finally got together something that we could actually understand and made some sense. Sundial had got a call a week or so ago about a resident that was fishing there, and he twisted his ankle there and some holes by the benches there. And I guess it's going to happen, even though that whole Sundial area was redone because of, explained to me, because of subsidence, because of the wave action from the boats. And, of course, as usual, Jorge and Ordy got over there at Brad's request and filled up some of those holes, because we didn't want anybody else turning their ankles. Depot, yes, huge thanks to Odie and Jorge for clearing that out. It's been such a problem for years, and it's gotten rid of all those hiding places with camping in there and other things. So that's just wonderful. Triangle. I conferred with Ed Waters today. He is still going to, he used to be on our committee. He's still going to chair the Triangle Park bird boxes there, and he will order the boxes. They will need to be put together, which he told me wouldn't take very long to get them together, and that'll be done with adults. And then the second phase, we'll get the kids involved for painting and adults with them, whoever the kids need supervision. So we hope to get them put together the first phase, try to do the first part of September, depending how hot it is, but we can do it early in the morning, and then we'll see how the weather goes. Hopefully, getting toward maybe the end of September, it won't be so hot, we hope. The pool, yes, Brad explained that to you. We are requesting, if possible, if they could close it and wait till closer to October 1. We have quite a few people now exercising there, and even some people a lot older than me, so it would be nice to kind of, if they can still use that, because the water does start to cool off quite a bit around October 1st. If he can make that happen, I know he does his best to get it all together. We had a new member in our committee, Darlene Pettit, that put together a really nice new sign-in book at the pool with card index type papers that weren't blowing all over and tearing out, and so that's been really helpful. And otherwise, typical pool issues of some people being very disrespectful to the guards, but it's going to happen. People don't want to sign in, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Chris. Next up is roads and drainage.
Yeah, as Brad mentioned, we have we're searching for a city engineer, and one of the first tasks is going to be to do an assessment of the bridge, a bridge that we do actually own. It's not the TxDOT bridge; it is the Clear Lake Shores Bridge. So we're looking to see what we can do to extend the life of it, and then what we will do is very likely delay Narcissus repavement until next year, and then we will do Clear Lake Road instead on the little short area on the other side of the bridge, make that asphalt piece concrete, and then do concrete all the way up to Forest. We're also going to repair in the 300 block of Clear Lake Road. There's an area that's a little bit of a drop-off on the west side that's going to be fixed. We have an issue at 304 Oak, and we have an issue right next to City Hall with some water not draining properly. We're going to fix that with installing some tide flex valves there and also at the end of Ivy on West Shore. That's the bulk of it. And then if there's any, the next project up is going to be the pedestrian bridge, where we're going to put in the side walkway, from Birch towards Aspens, and then have that ready for whenever the bridge is ready. You can just drop it in. Yep. That's it.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Next up is Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Mayor and Council, there was no report for Zoning Board of Adjustments. We've had no meetings or actions. For Planning and Zoning, there was a meeting on July 24th. There was a replat presented and approved for 1019 North Shore. Nothing else to report. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Michalski. Next up is Waterfront Compliance. Okay, nobody here from there, so we'll move on. Civic Club report. Georgette called earlier. She could not be here. They do not have a report, but they will have a meeting this Thursday at 6:30 here in this building. Economic Development. Okay. Next up is public comments. At this time, any person with city-related business may speak to the City Council on a topic of discussion. If the topic of discussion is related to an item on the agenda, the comments may be made now or at the time of the agenda item is discussed. If the topic on discussion is not related to an item on the agenda, the City Council cannot deliberate or take any action at this time. Comments from the public should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per individual. And Brad, we do have the time clock. Do you have... Would anyone like to speak to the council at this time? Hey, listen, I am going to go out there and say, we must be doing something right. Nobody's speaking tonight. So we'll move on to number 10, the consent agenda. Does anybody? That's what we just went through. Yes, sir. If you need to get up and talk, you're welcome to.
Start the timer, please. Hi, Mayor, Council, City Leaders. My name is Douglas Roberts. I live at 225 Narcissus. And I had something happen to me a couple weeks ago that really bothered me. And I don't understand who initiated it. But as I have lived here since Ike, this is not a private island. And when I came on, I was stopped by a soul freak, by a police officer, and wanted to know if I lived here, because they weren't allowing people to come enjoy our view and watch the fireworks. Now, I don't think that's legal. I don't know, but I don't think it's legal, because this is not a private community. All taxpayers pay in, and they should be able to drive wherever they want. What bothers me is 365 days a year, we have this beautiful view of the lake and the drive around the waterfront. And the people that don't live here and aren't that fortunate, does it hurt us to let them come watch the fireworks for 4 hours? I don't know, but it bothered me terribly. I don't like an overreach. I don't think it's legal to stop someone from coming on a public street. So, just question that. Is it really, I don't know, is it the right thing to do? And someone told me that, well, Kima's stopping. Well, Kima's an entertainment center. I don't know how in the world they got away with it, because that's all that is Tillman and all his restaurants and asking people to come in. So I don't understand that. Another thing, I hear there's a proposal to buy more radar guns. We're already known for being a police radar trap. We've known that for years. And surely we write tickets. We might maybe have handhelds. I don't understand why we need to spend $20,000 or $18,000 on that when we have 8 or 9 police cars that are not in use every day. Every neighbor I have or every friend I have comes over and says, what in the world are all the police cars? Now, I'm 100% behind police. And Phil, you're my bud, man. You can do no wrong. I am 100% behind that, but I don't understand why we need to keep adding more. That I don't understand. How much time do I have left, sir?
15 seconds.
Ooh. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Mine will be short. I'm Linda Merriman at 102 East Shore Drive. My husband couldn't be here tonight, but he wanted me to specifically say, and you've mentioned it 2 or 3 times, but how beautiful the Depot Park looks with all of that stuff gone. It really is a great, we drive by it every day, and it's so nice to see it, and I know they did a tremendous job in this heat. We saw them working every day. So thank you so much for seeing that it got done.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close out the public comments. We'll move on to consent agenda. Anyone have anything from the consent agenda they would like to pull? Having none, consent agenda will pass. Okay, yeah. So we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion by Amanda Fenwick, second by Jeff Terrell. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion passes unanimous. Okay, new business, number 11, ordinance 2023-08, and ordinance adopting amendment number 3 to the approved budget of the city of Clear Lake Shores, Texas for the fiscal year 23, increasing the amounts and expenditures accounts of the general fund due to unforeseen situations containing findings, providing for severability, and providing other details relating thereto. Brad Galley?
Mayor, I'll defer to our finance director for that update, please.
This is a budget amendment for the 7 radar antenna systems, and the chief can actually talk more on that. What we're taking it out of that PD donation account and one of the restricted funds for $19,800. Any questions?
We have a motion on that?
We also have to make a motion to talk about it, so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-08.
We got a second?
I'll second.
You got a motion by Rick, got a second by Amanda. Any discussion?
Did you have a...
Did he just motion for 8?
Yes.
David, it looked like you wanted to say something, or explaining what this is for, I'm assuming.
Right, these donations have to be used for certain, we just can't go out and buy anything we want. They have to be used for a certain project or police equipment. It's donations, no cost to the civilians. It's money that's donated. You know, we've done fundraisers and stuff like that. It's not costing the city a dime, so whoever's taking that position on it is absolutely wrong. Thank you.
Assuming this is just upgrading the antennas we have in the cars now, or what exactly are we doing with that?
So we have these systems have been passed down over the years, and you know, at some point it's not good to put old equipment in new vehicles and still have issues with the cars being down because they're in the shop, you know, getting worked on, the antennas and stuff like that. So this way we have new cars, we have new equipment. It's I think there's nothing wrong with it, and I appreciate it if y'all support it. Thank you.
These new systems are going to integrate with the second round of Motorola's or whatever's in the car now. They're going to work.
Yes, sir, they will.
Any more discussion?
I think Rick motioned for ordinance 2023-08 and not item 11B, but just to make sure that's right. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're correct, so I'll amend that. I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 2023-08, amendment number 3.
Did you say number 3?
Yeah, amendment number 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, any more discussion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Amended motion by Rick Fisher, second by Jeff Terrell. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Moving down to item B. Consider and approve purchase of installation of 7 dash-mounted radar systems in police vehicles for a total of $19,736.50. Funds provided from a donation account. Brad?
Yes, that last item was for the budget amendment. This is actually authorizing the purchase of those radar units.
I'll move to approve the purchase. Sorry, I don't have the agenda item in front of me, looking at the...
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion by Amanda, got a second by Ed. Any discussion?
I just have a quick question. The quote that's in our packet is actually for $18,546.50.
I think that doesn't include your installation cost. This is for both costs.
Got it. Just wanted to confirm.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimous. On to item C, consider an action as needed to appoint Richard Cope as a new presiding judge of Clear Lake Shores Municipal Court and administer the oath of office. So, along with us, in case you guys didn't know the history, Dick Gregg was our judge, and now that he's moved over and he's now our city attorney, we've asked Judge Cope to come back and be our judge, and he respectfully said, yes, I will. So, let's introduce him as our new judge, Richard Cope.
We need to do a motion to approve him as the presiding judge.
Okay.
And then have a second and vote it through.
All right.
Mayor, I'll move to appoint Judge Cope as our new presiding judge.
Okay, have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion by Amanda, second by Jeff Terrell. Any discussion? Passes. Now, Dick Gregg will administer the oath. Well, I jumped a little bit ahead, so now you can welcome Judge Cope. Okay, moving on to item D, approve quote for striping on Clear Lake Road between 2094 and Aspen Road.
So if you haven't seen it or heard about it, the striping between 2094 and Aspen is almost non-existent anymore. It's gotten faded out over the years. I have worked with Roads and Drainage on their maintenance budget, and they have approved restriping this. This will give us a solid yellow line down the middle of Clear Lake Road, give us 2 turn lanes, the stop blocks, and crosswalks there, and the crosswalk at Aspen will be redone. I think that's what we're asking for approval from council tonight. Roads and Drainage has already authorized this.
All motion to approve the striping of the road.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion by Alex, got a second by Ed. Is there any discussion? Item E, renewal of contract with Civic Plus for city website services for a total of $8,115.17. You're up again, Brad.
Feeling like I'm getting the popularity vote tonight. So Civic Plus is our host for our website and our data storage for them, and this is just a renewal, and it's no increase on the renewal.
So I'll move to approve the renewal with Civic Plus.
All second.
Got a motion by Amanda, got a second by Alex. Any discussion?
So, Brad, I just have a question, because it says that the city will be subject to an annual increase of 5% at each renewal, but they're not enforcing that 5%, so this is the same cost as last year, or we are getting a 5% increase?
It is a 5% increase. Okay, I misspoke on no increase, but it is correct.
Okay. And that's reflected in our budget that we went over earlier? Yes. Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion passes. Item F, appoint 1 member to the Waterfront Compliance Committee to fill the last vacancy.
And I'll defer back to council for that recommendation.
Well, we got 1 application, so I will make a motion to appoint Brian Woolner to the Waterfront Compliance Committee to fill the vacancy.
I'll second that.
You got a motion by Rick, got a second by Jeff. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion passes unanimous. Okay, that'll do it. Meeting adjourned at 7:14. Don't forget, we're going to stay around and go back into the other 2 budget meetings. Charlie first thing in the morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have cookies and Cokes and drinks in the back if you're still here from the police department.
this is all I didn't get anything, I didn't get anything saying who was next. That's all I had in this folder.
Exactly.
But who's next? Just say go in order, there's no order. It just,
No, order of your package, this. So once you get
oh,
past the
okay,
city,
okay,
it goes to,
I got you.
yeah, roads and drainage is next,
Okay.
and then EDC.
Can I have your attention, please? Everybody who's going to participate in the roads and drainage budget? Councilman, back to your seats, please. Richard, leave my councilman alone. I know he's promising your money away, but you can talk to him about that later.
Budget workshop will resume at this time. Again, budget workshop resuming at this time. Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, let's get moving. So, are we finished with our budget, the city budget? Are we complete with the city budget? Everybody's fine with that?
I had a question what the directive or the next step is gonna be, because it's not clear to me what we're doing next.
Say that one more
What
time.
is like the end result of all this talk? Like, what is the next thing we're expecting to see?
Just the direction, on, the police, increase. Are we doing what, just an 18 or,
So is it 15, is it 18, is it 20? I kinda heard different.
Well, what I was going to suggest, Brandon, I do hear you when you say we've got other staff as well. That really the problem is that whatever that number is, whether it's 10, 15, 20, the rest of city staff. Say you put the PD at 20 right now, right? And that gives us the deficit number we've got to deal with. I would like to assume that, and then maybe that changes that PD's 16%, and the rest of the city staff goes up the difference of that percentage, right? But that still puts us at a $175,000 deficit with that we need to try to see, can we even make that work? Because if we can't, then, that's all. But someone's going to have to figure out, and I would hope, Cheryl, you're probably the most qualified to do that. Is that possible? Can we find that much in the budget by cutting whatever you deem cuttable, right? Like, hey, you could not do, and I always pick on Jammin', not because I don't like it, because it's an easy one. You could cut Jammin' on Jarbo, right? That's 10% of what you're trying to do, and just see those options. Like, if you want to do this increase, you could get rid of these 15 things that are discretionary and achieve it, and then, because if we don't know that, then what can we do? And we're just guessing.
So what I just had a sidebar conversation with Cheryl is, because she mentioned something earlier that she kept using the word savings, and I was like, where is that reflected in this budget? Like, where do we know what that is? What does that mean? And so, that is a term that the fund balance and savings are the same thing. So on page 3, that bottom line, that ending unrestricted fund balance, that $2.583 million, that's where we would pull that, if we were to give the PD a 20% raise, and that $175,000 that we're talking about, that's where we would pull that from. And we don't have to go through and cut Jammin' and cut supplies and cut everything else. So when you look at projected actual cost for this fiscal year, we're up, and step in and correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl, we're projected to be up $380,000.
That's correct.
So
she's exactly right. So at the end of this fiscal year, which is September 30th, if everything holds true, which, we're expected to, be at, have a 380,000, close to it. I can't, but it's to roll into our savings. And so all that 380,000 includes all the money that has not been spent with PD. So what the plan was that rolls into your savings or your fund balance, which is that $2.5 million. That's where we're going to take that. Instead of cutting, there's just not a whole lot to cut. I mean, it's not a fluff budget at all. It's very lean, and what I'm afraid of, if we cut too much, we're going to have to come back and do a budget amendment in the middle of the year, because we do, we have, that just happens if you cut too much.
And so unless I'm missing something, that, to me, a 20% gets us almost to market for our police department. We're still giving our city staff, we still have a 2.5 to 3% COLA in the budget, and then we don't have to go through and cut, to your point, $400 here, $500 there.
So it's all being covered just by the budget surplus that we're going to have at the end of this year, which is...
Well, yeah, when you look at that first column, FY actual from 2022, I mean, there was a $300,000 surplus there, so that went into savings.
So basically, between the 2 years, you have $600,000 that went into savings, which is, I wish I had, that's great.
Yeah,
so you said
it's really good, but if we plan to spend more than we're planning to bring in this year, and then because we can't cut anything out of the budget right now, then next year we can't cut anything out of the budget, then we're going to be looking at spending, that surplus isn't going to be there at the end of this fiscal year. It's going to be zero if the budget's right, and then the next year it's going to be a negative, and then we're going to be dipping into the 2.5, and then we're the federal government who's printing money, except we can't. And that's
so how much is the surplus right now? We've got over 600,000 in there, you were saying?
Well, between the 2 years, it's 600, 300 and that's a hard number there, that first column, that's a good number.
Okay. So if we go up, say, 20% for the PD budget, what is going to be our annual expenditure just on that increase? Going to be 100 and what?
Well, I have to do, I would have to do the math on that just to make sure that going forward, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be, the cost is going to be about 3,000, so yeah.
Okay, so basically it's going to be over a 4-year period, it would be about $420,000.
And also, too, Amanda made a good point, too, that when you're fully staffed with, and Chief can also talk about that, when you're fully staffed with a PD, that means they're writing, they're doing more work, they're out there, and more revenue comes in, and so,
Yeah,
I mean, it's...
Well, I'm looking at it like this, so, to Alex's point earlier, he's saying the Lee property, we're going to be done with that in 4 years.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 4 years. So let's say it's $102,000 each year. That's going to be, let's call it $410,000 over the next 4 years.
$200,000.
So so out of that 600,000, we still have 200,000 left, so that covers us for the 4 years, and then we're done with the Lee property at that point, and that could kick in to to cover the increase there. So, I mean, to me, it doesn't sound like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, or operating at a deficit if we've already got that surplus.
And if we can't keep the officers, I mean, every time we lose somebody, it costs more money to get a new officer to bring them in. That's expensive too, so if we can keep people, that saves money right there. Is that correct, Chief, or?
It is. It takes us 2 years to get our investment back, what we
Okay,
have
yeah.
invested into the officer. It takes at least 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's an okay strategy, but that means when the Lee property's paid off, then we can't go, oh, we want to buy that prop, right? I mean, that's just something you gotta rely on future leaders to do, but what
Well, then
tends
we
to
just
happen
need-
is people
yeah.
just wanna spend.
Well, we just need to
spend.
figure out what's more important, of having a good police department or buying a piece of land. And to me, I know where I stand with that.
Well, I was just using that as an example, because you brought up that the Lee property was gonna be done in 4 years. So,
That's great.
That's just what I was extrapolating it out for.
I mean, I that may be the path to go. I'm all for the increase for the police. It's just making sure that we don't go down a bad path for Clear Lake Shores, where our huge surplus in 10 years is like, wow, we have $100,000 left because we've been spending $200,000 more every year, and
it's a valid point.
suddenly that's when we get to the ad valorem tax. Everyone likes to say ad valorem tax, because sales tax is going down. No, we've got $2.5 million to chew through before we really need an ad valorem tax, or depends how much cushion we want to keep. But I don't want to be the one that starts that downhill. I mean, the plan is, the Lee property goes away, that covers it. That right now, that's a good strategy.
Well, I don't feel like that's a downhill turn. I think that's an investment on our future here. Keeping these police officers, we're saving money. You figure how much money you're saving 2-year training program. I think that's an investment in our future.
One of the things, too, we looked at in the budget was just the income that's come from the PD right now, just because they're understaffed. They're not able to get out there and do traffic enforcement. You look at, I don't remember I'd have to go back and look at it, but how much is the income from traffic enforcement down this year compared to last year? I mean, it wasn't just a little bit, I mean, it was significant.
The 2024 budget, though, is up like 20% in revenue. We're already projecting that in this budget, so there's not much more fat there.
Well, we're unique in the fact that we don't have property tax. So normally with property tax, it'd be 90 days operating expenses, which you should have carry in your saving or your fund balance. We are a little more conservative than that because we don't have anything to fall back on revenue-wise. So that's why you have the rainy day, that rainy day fund. So. But it is very healthy. I mean, between the rainy day and the general fund, I mean, you have over, $4 million. Which I did calculate that out. I think it's like, it's almost, I think about 6 months, a little of operating. I think it was close to a year, maybe. Between the two.
So is the directive we're giving, do we need to pick like a percentage or a dollar amount increase for PD, and then I don't know if we want to do something as well for the rest over the COLA? Brad keeps asking for that. I'm trying not to ignore him here. Just, I'm curious to see what the numbers look like either way. It's just how much deficit for this year can we stomach? That's what it's going to come down to.
I would like to recommend that council makes that percentage recommendation. Let Cheryl run it through the calculator, spit it out, see if what our assumptions are here are the facts to be. And that can tell us, yes, we're good here, no, we need to be a little more conservative, and let's back off a little bit. But that gives her a starting point.
Okay, if we're going to do that, if it's just going to be to run numbers, let's start it at 20%. Let's just go with 20%. Run the numbers at 20%.
I agree.
And if that works out, I think that would be fantastic. And if for some reason it can't, we can take it down a little bit.
So know what we're working with at that point. with the 20%. At least we have numbers of idea of what we're looking at.
And with the 20% for the PD, it's roughly $175,000
Right.
more expenses. And then, I don't know, do we want to throw another percent and a quarter on the other? If I'm the only one advocating for what Brad's asking for, that's fine too. Oh, this was the last time I'll ask.
Well, I'm fine with a COLA raise, especially with the way inflation is, but on top of that, I think we have to have a merit-based discussion for employees. That's where I stand with that, and I know Brad has some thoughts on that as well. But I've said that in our first budget meeting, I feel strongly about having not just showing up for work and getting a raise because you show up for work. I think your performance should influence your raise on top of a COLA raise, in my opinion. And so if we set aside a percentage amount, I would want it to be set aside based off of your performance, not just on top of a COLA. Does that make sense? That's where I would land for that.
Brad, can you give us a dollar or a percentage of the total salaries, non-PD, that you think would be appropriate for that, and we can...
So what if I was making a recommendation on a calculable number, I'd like to see it calculated at 5% on that COLA to see, because of where everybody is at right now.
5% on top of the COLA?
No, taking it to a total of 5%
Combined.
and see what the impact's gonna be. What I wanna do is, I agree, we need to have that discussion about a fair and equitable merit raise system, but let's not lose some great talent in the meantime while we're taking it. Let's take it slow a year and put our heads together, and I think with what everybody's experienced, we can come up to that fair and equitable, but right now, let's send the message that everybody's important.
Can we see a version with a 2%, like a separated 3% and 2% increase on the rest? I mean, that's just two different lines. That would be good.
And just for full clarity, I want it known that I have specific direction that I want zero raise. I'm not advocating for myself. I'm not asking for COLA or anything. That's what I want. That's what it's going to stay at, so we can put our concentration elsewhere that it needs to be. There is no personal...
I liked you.
Can we give ourselves a raise, get like a silver dollar and maybe like a couple pennies?
I'll donate my...
Maybe we can get a silver 50-cent piece on top of it now?
Cheryl, you feel like you have what you need to bring back to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we need to go over roads and drainage and EDC, right? Or no?
I'm just saying with ours.
Oh, yeah.
We move on to roads and
Gotcha.
drainage next, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How much money you need?
All right, Thomas, here. More than...
The numbers in here, these are the ones that you provided?
Yes, on your page there.
We've actually gone through this, I would say, quite diligently, and these are real numbers. They're real numbers for what we need to do. We've been cut before on the extra 100,000. Then it was cut to 75, and the only reason why we have money in the account now is because we haven't spent anything. But we do have some rather large projects coming up. You know, the bridge refurbishment is rather small, but the approaches and to do the concrete all the way up to Forest, and then Narcissus for next year. It's going to have to be done. Give the extra.
you're also gonna see, what, we need to get the actual projected budget to Cheryl, because this is only showing contractual services and one random project, I think that was Narcissus, in here. We budgeted, yeah, we budgeted it where we have line items like $25,000 for maintenance, $25,000 for surveying work. We have road striping. We've got crack sealing lined out to try to list some items in the budget that Brad can, or the city can work through and say, hey, we've got $25,000 for road striping. That's why the striping on Hanson Road was done out of that budget. The striping up here at Clear Lake Road is done. The patches that we're doing on Clear Lake Road, that will come out of that, and we've planned that in every year. And that really, the maintenance that Roads and Drainage is doing is roughly equivalent to that $100,000 that we see as a city's contribution. And then all the major infrastructure projects, just like the city does with our tax revenue, comes off of sales tax. I think we get 0.25%, roughly the same as EDC. So you should, at the next go-around, we'll see you'll just be able to copy in that budget that Thomas has, and under expenditures for 2024, there'll be 8 or 10 line items that kind of depict what's
Nice.
there.
Very good.
So hopefully that's a step in the right direction. It'll be nice integrating it into the actual city budget instead of having it as a addendum. But
It'll be nice to have like that itemized, like, instead of just lumping it into one.
And Richard has good historical data in there too of what we've spent every year, and we can, it's a pretty solid document. We're probably gonna. What do you think we'll spend this year? 800,000 if we get all our projects done.
I haven't updated it yet, but I would say that it's close, it's a pretty good number, more than what we normally get per year.
And that's playing some catch up, because we bring in about 350,000 a year, plus or minus.
It's also going to be easier to read, because we've been very good about doing projects, but the maintenance part has been lacking, so we need to care about it and do it. Make the road last longer.
We're gonna have about 300,000 for this piece of Clear Lake Road up before us. And you can see that the roads are failing right around,
Between Elm and Ford.
So,
Yeah.
and prices are also going up.
That's something we've been looking at, like going forward. This year we'll stay at 100,000, but next year, whatever the general rate of inflation is, should be reflected in the contributions from the city, ideally to Roads and Drainage, because our maintenance costs go up as well. We're at a pretty sustainable revenue right now, but in 10 years, everything's going to be 15-20% more. We've been flat for 10 years now.
And it's not just the roads, it's the drainage too.
And I'd like to thank the committee for a hard work, because it really makes my job easier. I appreciate it. No.
When do you think the updated spreadsheet's gonna be ready? I should have it within a week. I actually need some numbers from Brad, Calgary. I get that, I'd like to update them.
And you will get it all in Excel.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all.
Okay, we done with that budget? We moving on to EDC? All right, Johnny, you're up.
Yeah, one of the changes, what I mentioned earlier, we may want to put, we need to pass it through EDC with some sort of admin reimbursement. We talked about having something flat, which makes more sense. So, that may be something that comes out, we'll need a line item for. And public relations and marketing at 22, we may want to bump that to 25. I think our CVB contribution should have increased actually this past year, but they kept typically 15, I think they're covering 18, but so I think I'll put that at 25, and we may do some other small donations stuff. That's several less. We have reading glasses, it's very small. Yeah, this is just a sources and uses statement, kind of shows our cash flow, stuff we're going to look for now and then future projects.
Keep in mind, some of these numbers are, that we are paying for the refurbishment of the old ramp, and then eventually we get money back from the Parks and Wildlife and wherever else that is.
Yeah, wasn't that one 75-25?
Second.
Wasn't it 75-25 for the, boat ramp? Okay.
So if you look under revenues here and you see Texas Parks and Wildlife, that 123,750 is actually 75% of the 165. So it offsets the 165 to our portion, which was just 25%.
And 926,604 transferred to general fund, that's the 50,000 a year for the body shop? And this is the second of
yes.
five payments? Six,
Yes.
second of six.
6.
So that would only be 50 round, and that was the 2,100, was that, I think that was for the closing costs.
Yes, the extra was, yes. Mhm.
So, oh no, never mind.
And some of the other stuff that we have going on, maybe, engineering work, that would fall under contractual services.
And I'll ask, what about the pedestrian bridge? Because if we keep moving on roads and drainage with that, we're gonna have 2 concrete pedestals and no bridge. Which will be very Clear Lake Shores, but.
There should be $75,000 in that work.
That'd be very Tyndall-ish.
Well,
Tyndall-ish,
sources and uses, we have it at
like where he lives.
$100,000, but it's not in the budget. Seems like it fell within, last year I thought it was under
It might be in Johnny's, not in, the one Cheryl has. Right, so we have 50 in this year's budget, which would come out of that $388,000 surplus that we were talking about earlier, that was budgeted.
But roads and drainage is paying some and EDC is
Right.
also paying some?
Roads and drainage is going to do the like concrete pedestals that it sits on with the sidewalks up to it, and then EDC in the city would, whatever ratio, just buy the bridge and set it in place, it bolts down. It's like a one day install kind of deal. We do have some ARPA funds for it, which is a portion of it, so. Again, if we don't spend that 50,000 in the budget this year, then it just goes into the general fund, so that's all, it's coming out.
It's ARPA funds, it
Well,
stays,
no,
it
this
stays.
year's goes it back into the general, doesn't go back into the general fund, but it,
by
26.
yeah.
but fiscal year '23 has 50,000 budgeted, which is
Right.
part of the surplus.
Right.
Which is fine, however that goes.
It has to be identified and allocated by 24, right?
Yeah, well, basically, when we got the 301,000, it's set outside, it wasn't even part of the budget because it's set in a account that just hang out, but, I say hang, but it's a deferred revenue account, and I don't want to get into accounting mechanics here, but, so now we're bringing it into the budget, to spend it, because we do have that deadline that we need to start moving on, to expend it.
So, is there a city, line item for contributions to the pedestrian bridge?
There's 50,000 this year if we start the project before October 1 that we could spend, and then we have 50,000. I don't know if this is that really in the budget? I guess it would be
Yes.
if we designate the ARPA
Yes.
funds. There'd be
So-
50,000 next year, which is either the same 50,000 or a different 50,000.
So if you look on Johnny, if you look on the first page, and you see supplemental request, if you look under, towards the bottom there, or under general government, you see, the ARPA funding pedestrian bridge. It's in that if you go back to that department, it's in that 301,000.
So, with some of the price increases on the Metro Bridge itself, do we need to adjust this, or are you thinking you want to adjust on the EDC?
Well, you've been in that email chain too. It's purchasing an asset, but it's not on any of the government sites where you can buy them. I haven't really explored that. It's going to be probably $160,000 to $180,000 for the bridge plus delivery and install, probably $200,000, $225,000 maybe figure worst case. That's still for a pretty big bridge. You can minimize it. Well, $161,000 is the cheapest one that I've gotten, but that's one quote from one company, and I believe it has to go to public bid. So, I don't really know that process too well.
It's 150, 200 range?
Yeah. I mean, that's for a big concrete, like concrete path, 8 foot wide, like you see in South Shore. You could always do a smaller one. That's what I'm saying.
Zip line.
You want something that'll last through possible water?
So are we putting anything under EDC for the bridge? Or you want to put how much of a contribution, or how much? 100? Oh, okay, the 100,000, okay.
But, with the, do we want to increase that to 150?
It's just where do you want to increase it from? EDC, city, ARPA?
I think EDC or ARPA. We're already.
We could probably go up to 100 with ARPA. If I feel safe we could do that.
Let's put a budget on it, or a line item for 100,000.
Okay, and then 100 on general fund. Right?
If we've got to designate the money, you've only got 170
Yeah.
designated right now. I mean, that takes care of it.
301.
Yeah. And this shows all of our EDC potential, projects that we talked about. I mean, there's just listed $100,000 for potential, park improvements, some of the playground stuff we talked about. We haven't even really discussed what the EDC is going to contribute to that, and we just put a placeholder of $100,000. It seems like, the city's main goal with our EDC funds are mainly parks and, infrastructure. We don't do a lot of civic programs.
Well, I know this may not be the best place to get into it, but from the quotes that I'm getting for the park ground, it may be best to incorporate this into one project. We'll come up with 60 for the children, Safe Children's. If you guys can supplement the rest, maybe we have that discussion, because I think we'll gain more purchasing power if we'll do it all together.
Johnny, have you guys talked about incentive programs? I mean, this might not be the right time to have those conversations either, but.
Yeah, sure, we have. We did the True North one, which is our first.
Right.
Agreement. But, no, we haven't really approached anybody, but it's usually developers reaching out. So if a hotel, say, plans on coming here, they're gonna absolutely reach out. But we just don't have the ability to do any real, that's just not the situation. Saying, I don't think the, EDC or really the council would be, keen on giving someone, $1,500, $150,000 for tax.
We've been trying to incentivize, like Jackie being, being part of the city, but what's the upside from that?
Right.
There's actually zero upside.
It's really difficult it's usually gonna be somebody that seems, it's like a large developer or something that's really gonna look at this.
And there's only so many existing buildings that something can happen in, and then if you're gonna build something new, because of the new, flood elevation, people are reluctant to build the second story, and they can just go a couple miles down the road and don't have to.
The second thing is that we're gonna be able to incentivize, for the smaller businesses that we can reimburse for, like building permits and smaller permit reimbursements.
I wonder if there's something, not to copy KEMA, but, they do something like where they to support their chambers too, where they pay for like half of it, like the lowest chamber membership, you know, if their small businesses want to join to help them get exposure and, you know, and
Sure.
to get started off the ground, just,
We are doing that through that, Bay Area, business bureau partnership thing, where they are highlighting some of the businesses.
oh, big deal, okay, see?
And that's
Not that
kinda
I'm
what-
trying to spend your money, but.
No,
spend
no,
your
I
money.
mean, again, we don't need to spend money because we have it, but also, I mean, EDC is here to reinvest in the community.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
It's
do.
not pay to just sit and get more and more funds.
And to spend on parks, I mean, it's great that you wanna spend your money on parks and infrastructure, but I'm, with the big hubbub going around a certain small business and trying to figure out how do we help our other businesses, you know? We can have offline
We did
conversations.
help out, not maybe not economically, but a little bit with
Yeah.
the brewery,
Yeah.
when it came to government easements and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I do-
It's not in a position for like that, the large
Yeah.
conferences.
No, I get it.
I do notice there's a big discrepancy between your second parking lot paving project and your budget and the city one as well, is that yours light. The EDC one is probably half of what it needs to be.
So on this budget item was back when we were seriously considering using all $300,000 in ARPA funds. So that's kind of stayed on there, and that was actually one of the things I noticed that, I guess was discussed at, maybe another meeting, that a lot more money's coming out of the EDC for that, which is fine, I mean, I think that's something that we're gonna support. But yeah, that was never discussed, I see $425,000.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing as well.
But that's the type of project exactly why EDC exists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
we-
425 is just an estimate on,
So you're talking about
The
adding in
east.
possibly an admin reimbursement and then the 100,000 for the pedestrian bridge.
Right. And probably moving up,
Marketing, public relations.
at least 20 to 25. We found, we've been doing more sponsorships, like a little onesie too, you know,
Yeah.
500 here and this and that. I think it's important to keep those up and give us exposure. And like I said, the CDD will go up, I think we're getting, you know, we're getting, I think that's a really good buy. You know, a lot of cities are paying 45,000, and I don't see us really getting any less of an opportunity. And they did change their paying format just for us, and for the rest of the board. So they're very disruptive. And, True North creating agreement, that's only gonna go down from there, most likely. Because it's serious stuff.
So 3,000 is too much?
No, that's a good, I mean, that's good. I just think that, you know, we paid 22, that's probably only gonna go down because our SIM program is so short. But, you know, they could do a big listers and. I don't know, 2 years, It's 2 years?
It's either, I think it's maybe more. I think.
Yeah, they didn't hit their vote before. It was $2.5 million vote. So that's why we didn't pay it prior.
We're gonna have to do a lot of business to make that
Yeah, to make it
meaningful. How are they getting it? Yeah, it's $2,600, yeah.
Well, there was also a grant, 50%, under $25,000 grant.
Yeah.
For making those improvements.
Good.
So any other questions, I think? That was really it.
Are we expecting to get a lot of grant money to actually come in this year?
Are we expecting to spend it this year?
Well, we, the planning portion, you can submit for withdrawal stock is less than 30. The construction, we're probably looking late before.
that 14091 is what, we're getting back in for the Shell Mark. So that's their,
Yeah, I guess I meant,
that really like a 2025?
No, so if you're looking at my budget, that's just been sliding. So, or my budget, I'll call it, sources and uses. Yeah, that's just always been sliding. This is just to show a worst case scenario. We're spinning on our war chest and saying, showing how much.
I'll just sit right here.
left over after all of that.
I was more asking Brad, like, do we think that thing actually
Oh,
happen?
okay.
anyway.
No, not this fiscal year.
Yeah, if you're looking at all this,
Sign it back.
Fair enough.
we just wanted it on there saying, hey.
Sweet and simple, no. Government in general, nope.
I just wanna know if we need to do environmental assessment, I'd be happy with that.
I haven't heard that yet.
Anybody have any questions on the budget items?
You guys wanna rent the parking lot? In the city? Yeah, you're trying to,
Revenue.
$100 a spot per month.
Yeah, you could be like human, put all those parking things on there.
Heated conversation. Yeah, we can play that game all day.
And then we charge the EDC a 5% fee for administration.
No?
Yeah, we can get reimbursed if we sell that property.
Why not go buy this one? You could put a empathy on it.
Something else in there?
So since about 2016, 2017, I think we've estimated maybe an increase just in like the town center area from true north down, $5 million.
She got one too, but it's addressed to you on the inside.
And increase $50 million in property tax.
They're asking for money, man.
Is there?
Our members would.
Should that happen? Hope it does not.
I'm just taking it all in, Thomas. I am just taking it all in. I'm a silent mayor. I'll let my council do their work. And I'll take
We all know that.
mine from there. I have my opinion.
So we got.
Hmm?
So I think that's all we got.
Are we done? All right. Close the meeting at 8:05. TML? I don't know yet because I'm supposed to be maybe out of town. I gotta ask my better half about that first. Are you going to? Oh, come on. I'll bring some vodka.
I went to that one time.
You didn't like it?
No,
Well, Brad used to have to go to all the classes while everybody else was out drinking and
Like,
having dinner.
exactly. Exactly.
So I haven't converted over to the new email yet, and they finally cut me off. Like sending in the vote this week. So I need to do that, get caught up.
Thank y'all for hanging around.